The day John and I met at the quaint cafe, I couldn't have anticipated the beautiful love story that was about to unfold. As I waited in line to order my coffee, my eyes caught a glimpse of him standing at the counter, smiling warmly at the barista. He was tall, with a rugged charm that immediately drew me in. As fate would have it, we both reached for the last cinnamon muffin at the same time. Our hands brushed, and we shared a laugh, breaking the ice that had formed between two strangers. He insisted I take the muffin, and I couldn't resist his genuine kindness. That was the moment our connection began. "Do you come here often?" he asked with a twinkle in his eyes. "Actually, it's my favorite spot in town," I replied, feeling an unexpected flutter in my heart. From that day on, we kept running into each other at the cafe, and each meeting felt more like destiny. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, as if we had known each other for ages. We bonded over our love for literature, travel, and dreams of a happy family. One evening, as we strolled hand in hand along the park, he turned to me with a playful grin. "You know, I think this is more than just chance. It's like the universe wanted us to meet." I blushed, feeling my heart skip a beat. I believe in fate too, and if it brought us together, then I'm grateful for it. Our love blossomed rapidly, and before long, we knew we were meant to be together. When John proposed, it was everything I had dreamed of, a romantic evening under a starlight sky, with the sound of soft music playing in the background. He got down on one knee, and tears welled up in my eyes as I said yes. The wedding day was pure magic. Surrounded by friends and family, we exchanged heartfelt vows, promising to stand by each other through thick and thin. As we danced together for the first time as husband and wife, I felt like I was floating on air. This was the beginning of our happily ever after. And so the next few months, we settled into our new home, a charming white house with a beautiful garden. We would spend evenings cuddled on the couch, planning our future together, and it felt like we were invincible. But as with all fairy tales, clouds can appear on the horizon, and life took an unexpected turn. John's behavior started to change, and we found ourselves arguing over insignificant things. Our once blissful nights were replaced with tense silence, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Little did I know that our beautiful beginning was about to be tested, leading us down a tumultuous path we never imagined. As the days turned into weeks, John's strange behavior persisted, and the happiness we once shared seemed to slip through our fingers. I tried my best to talk to him, to understand what was bothering him, but he always dismissed my concerns with vague excuses. One evening, after a particularly tense argument, I sat on the edge of our bed, feeling the weight of uncertainty pressing down on me. John stood by the window, staring out into the night, and the distance between us seemed immeasurable. "John, please talk to me," I pleaded, my voice trembling with emotion. He turned towards me, his expression guarded. "It's just work stress, Margaret. You know how demanding my job can be, but we used to share everything, John. I want to be there for you, to support you," I said, feeling the tears welling up. He sighed, avoiding my gaze. "I appreciate that, but I need to handle this on my own. It's not about you." His words stung, and I felt a pang of hurt deep within. The warmth that once radiated from him was replaced by an icy detachment that left me feeling isolated. The next morning, I attempted to reach out again, hoping for a glimmer of the man I fell in love with. As we sat across from each other at the breakfast table, I mustered up the courage to broach the topic. "John, I miss us. I miss the laughter, the conversations, the intimacy," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He glanced up briefly, but his eyes seemed distant, almost empty. "I'm sorry, Margaret. I'm just not in the right headspace right now. I need some time alone." I felt a lump forming in my throat, struggling to hold back tears. "Alone, but we're supposed to be in this together. Please, let me help you." He shook his head, pushing his plate away. "I need to figure things out on my own. Maybe we just need some space." And with that, he left for work, leaving me feeling more lost than ever. The days turned into weeks, and the divide between us grew wider. We slept in separate rooms, and every attempt to connect with him was met with silence or indifference. One night, I couldn't take it any longer, and my frustration spilled over into anger. "You can't keep shutting me out, John. We're supposed to be a team facing life's challenges together." His face hardened, and he snapped back. "Well, maybe you're part of the problem, Margaret. I need space from your constant nagging and insecurities." Tears streamed down my face as his words cut deep into my heart. I had always trusted him and believed in our love, But now doubt crept in like a dark shadow. As time passed, John's behavior became even more erratic. He started coming home late, often reeking of alcohol, and he always had an excuse about work or hanging out with friends. I began to wonder if there was someone else, but I pushed that thought away, unwilling to believe it. The beautiful beginning of our love story now felt like a distant memory, and the storm brewing in our relationship threatened to shatter the happiness we once knew. I couldn't help but feel that something was seriously wrong, but I had no idea just how much my life was about to be turned upside down. As the turbulence in our marriage continued, I began to feel a deep sense of unease and uncertainty. I couldn't shake off the feeling that I needed to protect myself, just in case things took a turn for the worse. It was then that I decided to buy a small safe and start saving money secretly. Late at night, when John was out, I would carefully count the cash and place it inside the safe. It was my safety net, a lifeline should our marriage crumble completely. I felt guilty for keeping this from him, but I feared he might react negatively or take the money away if he knew. One evening, I sat in our bedroom, nervously counting the money for the umpteenth time when John unexpectedly entered the room. Panic surged through me, but I quickly closed the safe and tried to act casual. He raised an eyebrow, noticing my odd behavior. "What are you doing, Margaret? You look like you've seen a ghost." Trying to maintain composure, I forced a smile. "Oh, nothing, just tidying up a bit." He walked over and sat down next to me on the bed. "You seem distant lately. Is everything okay?" I hesitated, not knowing how to respond. I wanted to confide in him, to tell him about my worries and fears, but his recent coldness held me back. "I'm just tired, John. Maybe we could spend more time together like we used to," he sighed, seemingly preoccupied with his own thoughts. "I've been busy at work, you know that. But sure, let's plan a nice evening together soon." Relieved that he didn't pry further, I nodded, secretly hoping that we could rekindle the spark that seemed to have vanished. Days turned into weeks, and my secret stash of money grew steadily. I felt a strange mix of guilt and empowerment, knowing that I had some form of security amid the turmoil. But I also couldn't shake off the nagging feeling that I shouldn't have to resort to such measures in a loving marriage. One night, as I counted the money yet again, I looked at my reflection in the bedroom mirror, contemplating the path our relationship was taking. "What happened to us, John?" I whispered to myself. "We used to be so happy." The days continued to blur, and as John's late nights became more frequent, I began to suspect that there was more to his behavior than just work stress. My instincts told me something was terribly wrong, and the money in the safe became a symbol of my growing mistrust. One evening, John stumbled into the house, reeking of alcohol, and collapsed on the couch. His slurred words broke my heart. "It's just a tough phase, Margaret. I promise things will get better." My frustration boiled over, and I couldn't hold back any longer. "But you're never here, you're always out, and you come back like this. I can't keep pretending everything is fine." He waved a dismissive hand, seemingly unaffected by my pain. I said, "I'm dealing with stuff, okay? I don't need you nagging me about it." Tears welled up in my eyes, hurt by his callousness. "I just want us to be happy again. I want us to talk and share our lives." He got up, unsteadily making his way to the bedroom, and paused at the door. "Just give me some space, Margaret. I need time to figure things out." As he closed the bedroom door, my heart sank and the realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I needed to protect myself and the future I had once dreamed of. My secret stash of money now held a greater significance, not just as a safety net, but as a symbol of my strength in the face of uncertainty. The days following our heated argument were filled with a tense silence. John continued to come home late, and we barely spoke to each other. Every night, I would lie in bed, my heart heavy with worry and confusion, wondering how we had drifted so far apart. One fateful morning, as I was getting ready for work, my phone rang. I glanced at the caller ID and saw John's name. Taking a deep breath, I answered the call, hoping that maybe, just maybe, he wanted to talk and work things out. "Hello?" I said, my voice cautious. "Margaret," John's voice was strained. "We need to talk." My heart skipped a beat at the sound of his serious tone. "Of course, John. What's on your mind?" He hesitated before speaking. "I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I think it's best if we take a break from each other for a while." But the words hit me like a punch to the gut. "A break? But I thought we could work through this together." "It's not that simple, Margaret," he replied, his voice sounding distant. tears welled up in my eyes, and I struggled to find the right words. "Please, John, let's talk about this in person. We can figure things out together." "I can't do this right now, Margaret," he said firmly. "I need space, and I think it's best for both of us." "But I love you, John," I choked out, desperation creeping into my voice. His response was cold and indifferent. "I'm sorry, but I can't do this anymore. I need time away from everything." The call ended, leaving me stunned and heartbroken. I sank to the floor, clutching the phone tightly, trying to comprehend the sudden turn of events. It felt like the ground had been pulled from under me, and I was left floating in an abyss of uncertainty. In my distressed state, I decided to take the day off work and process everything that had happened. I felt lost and alone, unable to reach out to anyone for support as I hadn't shared the extent of our problems with friends or family. My heart ached for the love we once had, wondering where it all went wrong. Feeling restless and unable to stay cooped up in the house, I decided to go for a drive to clear my head. As I drove, my thoughts kept going back to the phone call, replaying the words over and over in my mind. Frustration and sadness welled up in me, and I couldn't help but call him back, hoping he had changed his mind. But the call went straight to voicemail, and I left a tearful message, pouring my heart out, begging him to reconsider. Distraught and overwhelmed, I tried to concentrate on the road ahead, but my emotions clouded my focus. As I approached an intersection, my phone buzzed with a new message notification. Instinctively, I reached for it, but in that split second, I lost sight of the road. Before I knew it, screeching tires and the sound of metal colliding filled the air. I had gotten into an accident. When I regained consciousness, I found myself lying in a hospital bed, surrounded by worried faces of medical staff. The doctor explained that I had suffered only minor injuries, mostly bruises and a few cuts. Miraculously, I had escaped serious harm. As I lay in that hospital bed, I couldn't help but think about the phone call that led to this disaster. The argument and the emotional distress it caused had distracted me from driving safely, putting my life at risk. I asked the doctor if my husband had come to check on me, hoping against hope that he would have come running after hearing about the accident. But the doctor's response was crushing. "No, I'm sorry, but no one has come to see you," the doctor said with a sympathetic look. The reality of our crumbling marriage hit me hard, and I felt an overwhelming sense of abandonment. The man I had loved and trusted had turned his back on me when I needed him the most. But as the doctor continued to talk, there was a glimmer of hope. He said my condition was improving faster than they expected, and I would be discharged 4 days early. A mix of emotions washed over me. Relief at the thought of leaving the hospital earlier and facing my shattered reality, and sadness at the realization that I was now truly alone. And with a heavy heart, I prepared myself to return home, uncertain of what I would find there. Little did I know that the pain and heartache were far from over, and that my life was about to take an even more drastic turn. As I returned home from the hospital, a wave of emptiness washed over me. The walls of our once happy home now felt like witnesses to a love lost. I searched for signs of John's presence, hoping that he would have returned to check on me after the accident, but there was nothing. On the kitchen table, I found a note written hastily in his handwriting. My heart pounded in my chest as I read the words that confirmed my worst fears. "Margaret, I'm leaving for another city. I can't do this anymore. Please don't try to find me. It's over." The pain of his betrayal cut deep, and the weight of abandonment crushed me. How could the man I loved simply walk away without a second thought? I wandered through the house, feeling the void of his absence. The rooms we once shared were now filled with memories, leaving me haunted by what once was. As I entered our bedroom, I noticed that all of his belongings were gone, our life together packed into boxes and taken away. But in that moment, I couldn't comprehend how our beautiful beginning had turned into this nightmare. I felt deceived, abandoned, and utterly broken. My eyes then landed on the small safe tucked away in the closet. My secret stash of money, the money that was meant to provide security for our future, was still there. But in the face of his betrayal, its significance had changed. It was no longer a lifeline, but a reminder of the trust I had misplaced. I opened the safe and checked the money inside. It was all still there. My savings, my hopes, and my dreams for a love that would endure. But the sense of betrayal overshadowed everything, leaving me feeling empty and lost. In the days that followed, I tried to cope with the pain and confusion, but it was a struggle. I couldn't escape the torment of unanswered questions. Why did he leave? What did I do wrong? Was our love not enough? I decided to seek closure, to find out the truth from the one person who might have answers. His parents, they had always been kind to me, and I couldn't fathom why their son had treated me so callously. Stricken with a heavy heart, I made my way to their house, unsure of what I would find. When I arrived, I was greeted by familiar faces, but their expressions held a mix of surprise and awkwardness. His mother, Mrs. Thompson, spoke first. "Margaret, what a surprise to see you. Is everything okay?" I took a deep breath, trying to hold back tears. "No, everything is not okay. John has left me and I don't understand why." "I thought you might have some answers." Her husband, Mr. Thompson, stepped forward, looking uneasy. "I'm sorry, Margaret, but if John has chosen to leave, it's his decision. We don't know why he did it, but don't you have any idea?" I pleaded, unable to mask my pain. Mrs. Thompson exchanged a nervous glance with her husband before replying. John said he was unhappy and he needed a fresh start. If he feels that way, it's up to him to decide what he wants to do. The words felt like a dagger to my heart. I had always considered them family, but their loyalty now seemed to lie with their son, regardless of the pain he had caused. But he didn't just leave. "He stole from me too," I said, trying to hold back the tears. Apparently their surprise was evident, and they exchanged worried glances. "Stole? What do you mean?" Mr. Thompson asked. I hesitated, unsure if I should reveal my secret, but the pain and anger pushed me forward. He took my savings, over $50,000, from the safe I had in our bedroom. Their shock turned to disbelief, and they looked at each other with concern. Mrs. Thompson finally spoke. "I can't believe he would do something like that. We didn't know anything about this." The betrayal cut even deeper, and I felt an overwhelming sense of isolation. The people I thought I could turn to had nothing to offer me but disappointment. Feeling defeated, I decided to pursue legal action. I filed for divorce, seeking justice for the betrayal and theft. The courtroom became the battleground for our broken love story. And as the court proceedings unfolded, the truth came to light, revealing John's deception and callousness. The judge saw through his lies and deceit, ruling in my favor and ordering him to pay restitution of $200,000 for his actions. The divorce was finalized, marking the end of our once beautiful beginning. The pain and heartache were immeasurable, but I knew I had to find the strength to move forward. In the wake of the legal battles and emotional turmoil, I decided to let go of the toxic relationship that had shattered my dreams. Slowly, I picked up the pieces of my life and began to rebuild. The betrayal and desertion had wounded me deeply, but they also became the catalyst for my transformation. I vowed never to settle for anything less than genuine love and respect. Though the journey was painful, I found the courage to embrace my newfound independence and freedom. The beautiful beginning of my love story had turned into a painful chapter, but it was not the end. I had learned the hard way that sometimes life takes unexpected turns, and the true test lies in how we rise above the darkness and find our own path to happiness. The courtroom was filled with tension as John and I faced each other for the first time since our marriage had crumbled. Our once undeniable connection now felt like a distant memory, replaced by resentment and hurt. My lawyer stood by my side, a reassuring presence as we prepared to present the truth before the judge. I took a deep breath, determined to confront John and seek the justice I deserved. As the proceedings began, the judge's gaze fell upon me. "Mrs. Thompson, please share your side of the story." I cleared my throat, trying to steady my voice. "Your Honor, I loved my husband deeply, but he betrayed my trust and abandoned me without warning. Not only did he leave, but he also stole over $50,000 from me." The judge's stern expression showed that he was taking my words seriously. "Mr. Thompson, your response?" John's eyes avoided mine, and he spoke with an air of indifference. "Your Honor, I admit that our marriage was troubled, but I didn't steal anything. The money she speaks of was probably used for household expenses." Anger boiled within me, and I couldn't hold back my frustration. "That's not true. I kept that money in a safe, and I can prove it." My lawyer handed the evidence over to the court, a record of my savings and the empty safe. The judge examined the evidence, his face growing stern. "Mrs. Thompson, do you have any witnesses or other evidence to support your claim of betrayal and theft?" The judge inquired. I hesitated, not wanting to bring his parents into the proceedings, but I knew it was crucial to present the truth. "Yes, Your Honor. I spoke to John's parents and they confirmed that they had no knowledge of him stealing the money. In fact, they were just as shocked as I was. The judge raised an eyebrow, looking at John. "Is this true, Mr. Thompson?" John's parents had warned him not to drag them into the situation, and he shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Your Honor, I apologize. I did take the money, but I needed it for personal reasons. I never meant to hurt her." The admission cut like a knife, and tears welled up in my eyes. How could the man I loved do this to me? The judge's stern gaze fixed on John. "Mr. Thompson, your actions were deceitful and unjust. The court takes such matters seriously, and it is clear that your actions have caused significant harm to Mrs. Thompson." John's lawyer attempted to defend him, citing his remorse and willingness to make amends. But the damage was already done, and the truth had been revealed. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor, ordering John to pay restitution of $200,000 for the stolen money and emotional distress caused by his betrayal. He also granted the divorce, severing the last remnants of our once cherished love. As the courtroom emptied, I felt a mix of relief and sorrow. The legal battle was over, but the emotional scars were deep and would take time to heal. In the aftermath of the divorce, I focused on rebuilding my life. I found solace in the support of friends and family who stood by me through the darkest times. The money from the court settlement became a stepping stone for a new beginning, a chance to pursue my dreams and rediscover my worth. One day, as I walked through the city, I found myself passing by a little coffee shop, reminiscent of where John and I had first met. But this time, instead of sadness, I felt a sense of empowerment and renewal. As I stepped inside, the familiar smell of coffee filled the air, and I smiled as I ordered my favorite cinnamon muffin. I realized that the beautiful beginning of our love story had ended, but it was just the start of a new chapter. One filled with strength, growth, and the promise of a brighter future. As I savored the taste of the muffin, I made a silent promise to myself. I would never settle for anything less than genuine love and respect. My heart had been broken, but it had also grown stronger. And from that strength, I knew I would create my own happily ever after, on my own terms, with my head held high. The journey ahead would not be easy, but I was ready to face it with unwavering determination, armed with the lessons learned from my beautiful beginning and painful end.